But let's go back to Taylor. She's down in Velocity Lane. Over to you, Taylor.
That's right, I'm here on the grid, and we started in the morning with our vintage 20s, 30s cars. Well, now we're here in the 90s, 2000s. This is what we like to see on the track. They are loud, they're noisy, they're beautiful, and they are ready to go. Some notable highlights you can see as we walk down. It's a little bit further down, but I see a Holden car. That means that is a V8 supercar, which are extremely popular in Australia, and I think Zach Brown is in the seat of that car. But as you can see, these guys are ready to race. They've got their window nets, they've got their windows, so unfortunately I can't talk to many of them, but they've been ready. They've been sitting here watching those Formula One cars going, getting their engines ready. So we'll take one more walk down the grid, and we've got 1 minute, and these cars are ready to go racing. Johnny?
And as you can see, cars getting ready to go again, and the roar of those cars about to be unleashed on the Laguna Seca track. I've got a bit of a skip in my step now because the sun's out. Finally, it's taken that long, but hey, loving it. And I'm going to have somebody from the Laguna Seca Foundation join me in a moment. And as you can see, we've got another great display of cars, but I'd like to bring in, yes, Richard Renard, but Dick, as he's known, from the foundation, the Laguna Seca Foundation, a very important foundation. When we mentioned them earlier, but I just read, if you like, a classic blurb. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about the foundation as you're part of it, and how important it is to Laguna?
Well, quite simply, it is just raising capital for improvements and enhancements of the racetrack. It was started in the late 70s, late 90s, early 2000s. We built the scoring tower, we built the communication center, which nobody knows where it is. We did cruising cafe, we did bleachers and things like that. We now have a real energized existing board. We've added a lot of really key players to it. Martin Lauber, Skip Cook, Ross Merrill, Paul Fanner of Fanner Communications, Gordon McCall. So we have a really energized board. And really, we are just out here for two reasons: to raise money for capital improvements, and number two, we have a fundraiser. We're going into our second year in 2023. It's called Laps for Laguna, and it will be July 21, 22, and 23. It's a 3-day event this next year. It appears we may be the first four-wheeled event on the new pavement. Not sure, don't take gospel on that. But it will basically be these types of cars. We love partnering with Jeff here and with Reunion and with all the racers, all the participants. You know, they're our fertile backyard, and having the heart and the desire to really make this place not just a first world class event and track, not just for the participants, not just for the spectators, but for the county of Monterey as well.
Yeah, and hats off to you. I spend a lot of time being based in Austin. I just watched the repaving of a lot of COTA, and I also saw Barber resurfaced in the last few years. So I know that the undertaking is no mean feat, and at a place like Laguna that's got such history, you've got to do it carefully, you've got to do it well. It's expensive, so yes. I can see why you want to raise money. How much of the circuit, or are you going to have to do the whole thing?
The whole circuit will be repaved, including curbs, drainage. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of infrastructure work left to do, but that will all follow. Destroying the original start-finish bridge and then doing all of the structural work that has to take place for that. There's a lot of work that has to be done around that because it's going to be made much wider for cart traffic and such be made, of course, safer, modern coating, modern materials, modern structure. So that'll be done first. And then the pavement will be done in a particular time of the year from a weather point of view that's advantageous to the paving experts coming in.
Now, I noticed when we built COTA from scratch, we went down because of the sort of the clay and the soil that was used. Do you take the surface off and go with to keep the layout, obviously, or do you dig down and use a deeper thing to like more modern materials and so on, or do you know?
Wow, that's above my pay grade. I really don't know.
I'm just interested.
Yeah, no, my understanding is that the track will remain its characters, that the on-banking, off-banking, negative camber, positive camberness of the track, that to me, the crowning of going into 11, you know, do we have the intestinal fortitude to go over turn 1 flat and hold it flat the way those Formula One guys that Mario and Mika were holding? I couldn't believe that. Did you hear how deep they were going to 2 before they were even beginning? That was like when I used to drive the track and that was a whole different corner. I mean, it was scary. So all of that will remain.
Yeah, I'm good. That's good to know. I also noticed, tell me a little bit about the plaque about the foundation, because when you leave Laguna, there's a plaque on the wall about the foundation and some of the members over the years.
Yeah, that's
drivers and so on.
Yeah, that really needs to be updated. There's been a lot of talk about what's going to happen here in the paddock. There's been talks about Laguna Seca Village, you know, City of Laguna Seca, things like that, where there's a whole plans for redevelopment. What does that do with Cruising Cafe? What does that do with some of the semi-permanent, permanent buildings? How are we going to integrate the Newman building into everything? So unfortunately, I call it the plaque of champions, those great guys that have donated, you know, the late Dan Gurney, Bruce Canepa, and many others that I, unfortunately, at my age, can't remember all the names. But that hasn't really been addressed yet, because we're still kind of figuring out, well, do we do it and know that it's going to sit there for a year, or do we do it and it goes away in 3 months? So this is a really, really huge undertaking for the track, for the Norigi Group, for the County of Monterey to address the start-finish bridge and to do the paving.
Now, out on track at the moment, cars that I'm sure you'll be familiar with. These Porsches. There's even a Holden out there, but we've got some lovely cars from Group 9. But I wanted to make sure that we talked about the foundation. Is there any infrastructure? You mentioned the bridge being pulled down. Is there any more infrastructure, besides the track obviously being repaved? Is there anything else you plan to build around the track? You mentioned the karting or widening for the karts.
I think, you know, there's been a lot of plans for redeveloping the paddock, to remove some things, to add some things, to really make a lot of what we're seeing for our food groups, our sip and savor group, to be able to really turn around and make that a permanent series of structures. Again, going around the track, different things. We used to have what we called the steps of the corkscrew. We've talked about bringing that back online and finding the right kind of an installer. We still have a lot of the bricks for that, for the corkscrew. So there's a lot of the stuff that brings history back in it, but it's mainly to bring the experience here to be an experience like COTA, like Silverstone now is. You know, really bring it modern, because here on this weekend, on Reunion and IMSA and things like that, we have not only participants, but we have spectators from every talking continent, save maybe Antarctica, and I'm not sure, maybe we have somebody here now from there. But you know, you have people coming from so far and they're shipping cars in. I mean, we've had that one year where we had the Formula 5000 guys, all those guys from New Zealand and Australia coming over here, and we've had guys from the British Isles coming over here, so we need to bring our amenity level up.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. And it's funny because I spent many a year doing MotoGP and World Superbike on the two-wheel side, and we would do the live races from Laguna Seca, and we'd what, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
When it would kick off. But we were in wonder of this amazing place called Laguna Seca, and it was always packed to the gills when, you know, Hayden or Schwartz or anybody else would come, and obviously Wayne Rainey, who's been here this weekend. Yeah, Kenny Roberts, you name it. And yeah, that was my introduction, if you will, from afar, from England. And there's no question, I can assure you, that it is held in huge revere around the world. People want to come here, they want to see it, they love the topography of it, and the corkscrew obviously speaks for itself. But you know, it's got that iconic feel that it's very hard for anybody building a new circuit, COTA included, to kind of recreate.
Well, 3 real quick stories.
Go on then.
Road and Track did a survey of their readership. Give us, what is your favorite racetrack in America?
Yeah.
Number 1 was Laguna Seca. If you ask people around the world to name their favorite road racing track, Laguna Seca is always in the top 5.
Wow.
And one of our own county supervisors was on a trip in Italy, way out there, you know, I don't, somewhere where there weren't a whole lot of people. It was in a little restaurant, and they were asking him, where is he from? Oh, we're from Monterey. Guy raises his hands and he goes, Laguna Seca! I mean, the cachet value of this place, there is not another place on earth that you have this track, a track like this, with Monterey.
Yeah. I was about to say, I know enough about the history of this place to know that while we're talking a really, you know, talking up Laguna, but there's a lot of, in the background, you guys have had to work with a lot of struggles locally with the housing and the council and getting the right time and the noise levels and so on. It's very strict. It's very important that is kept to. You've had your struggles over the years to make sure it stays open and make sure it stays funded. So I take my hat off and applaud you, because as you say, you are literally on top of Monterey, Pebble Beach, you name it. Not easy, but you've done it, and you've done it hands down. And as you say, I think the popularity speaks to itself, that you're able to maintain that and being able to keep people coming.
Well, and one of the things that was really exciting in this year's reunion was going backwards to the way it had been, where the big race, the big event for Laguna Seca was Saturday, and it was a tip of the hat to Pebble on Sunday,
right,
that we wouldn't compete. Now, we did throw a pretty interesting event in, which was the hill climb, to run backwards from start finish up to the corkscrew, and that is going to be crazy next year, because we'll probably have 400 entries just for that.
The hill climb, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was. I think the greatest one was the drifter, who on his second run went down to turn 11, spun around a few times, and of course he was in smoke the whole way, and smoked his way all the way up, and it was just this haze over the valley in here. It was crazy.
I tell you what, we could talk some stories all the time, but I want to point out some of the guys that are doing their qualifying race here in Group 9. Now, is that the same Juan Gales that is putting on the exhibition here?
I honestly don't know.
I'm guessing it will be. But George Grass
think so.
is leading the way at the moment in the number 50 Chevrolet Corvette. And Zach Brown, obviously, we know that man very well. Zach in the number 2. And that is the Holden. Yeah. Now, that's interesting, because that's part of his United Autosports venture in Australia, the Holden. And it is a true V8 supercar. And we haven't seen much of it on screen yet, as we take a look at the number 8 Ferrari 355 Challenge car, Michael Claudio at the wheel. And that's a Ferrari Challenge Series from the 90s. But a beautiful car, being passed a little bit by the Porsches. But it's George Crass in that number 50 Corvette leading the way, and we've in fact got a 1-2 for the Corvette, Chris Hines as well. I've got them different cars, so we'll see. But the 50, the George Crass car finished second at the 24 Hours of Le Mans and helped Chevrolet win the Manufacturer and Teams Championship in 2003 and 2004 in the ALMS IMSA Competition Championship.
Maximum flight altitude reached.
But these are beautiful sounding cars, aren't they? And don't you like the aspect that drones have brought to the circuits, to see racing slightly differently and to see the gaps and to see the corners in their real glory? Because onboards are great and so are camera positions, but I think the drone adds something.
Well, and I think there is a lot of talk about opening up some of the viewing areas, making it more accessible, especially the corkscrew. I mean, we've got these great view areas, start, finish, straight, turn, you know, the Andretti hairpin, you can get up real close there, turns 4, turns 5, the grandstands there. But to enhance the viewing area, the corkscrew as it revs down to turn 9, it's just fabulous viewing as you watch guys try to figure out turn 9, because that's a crazy corner.
Yeah, and the car you're looking at the moment on track, the number 36 Porsche GT3R, driven at Le Mans in 2000, in the hands of Kurt Wagner and Shane Lewis, and did several European Le Mans events, including Silverstone and Nürburgring, and ran a full season of ALMS in 2000. Each and every one of these cars has got some sort of history to it, and it's lovely to have them all out here as a collection, racing hard and pushing these cars to their limits. There's the car I was just talking about, that number 36 GT3. Clay Kovari at the wheel. Go ahead.
One of the important things to remember about this particular event, especially for our spectators that may be here for the first time, is every single car on the track raced in period. Meaning there's no tribute cars here, there's no reunions, there's no wannabes. These are all in period race cars. Whether it's a Formula One car, whether it's a Lister Jaguar, whether it's a Porsche, whether it's a, you know, they are all in period race cars, and that's what makes this event really unique, perhaps in the whole country.
Well, David Lockwood's got Zach Brown locked on him in that hold. Look at this. This is great. David Lockwood in the 997, Zach Brown in the V8 supercar. And it sounds good, doesn't it? I'd love to see we had the V8s at Coda. I'd love to see them here. I think they'd go good.
Well, they certainly would. And you know, anything V8 noisy drives the French crazy.
Absolutely.
And this year, Le Mans in garage, was it garage 51, 52,
yes,
whatever that number is?
They're putting a NASCAR in.
They're bringing the NASCAR in. They'll go. That's like bringing Le Mans Strap.
The French won't like that. The Americans have a habit of upsetting the French at Le Mans. I like that. So we're coming down to the closing stages of our Group 9 qualifying race. We're looking at Zach Brown in the number 2 in a very storied Holden WR014, driven by Garth Tander and Nick Percat. In 2010 to 2012, they gained 13 podium positions in the International V8 Championship in Australia, and were winners of the Bathurst 1000 in 2011. I think that's why Zach's got his eye on that car. He's got a really interesting and eclectic collection of Zach of cars, from Formula One to V8s, V8 supercars. Very interesting indeed.
Is the Holden supercar, is that a Bathurst winner? Do you know?
Yep.
Bathurst 1000?
1000 winner in 2011. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Isn't that cool? And I would have argued, I don't know, but I would have said that's probably the first time it's ever run in Laguna.
Oh no.
I can't think of it. Oh no!
Oh!
Big off. That's a surprising off for the 59. Sadly.
Oh, did he get touched?
No, I don't think so. I think it looked like
he just got
touched
put.
The wheel.
I think he
put a wheel on the outside. Yeah, that's strange.
I think the right word is harried. He was harried.
Harried into submission. This is a car, the Chevrolet you're looking at, finished second at Le Mans. And as I said earlier, it helped win the Manufacturers' Championship for Chevrolet. And also competed in the 2003-2004 ALMS. Well, I hope that car's okay. You can go out. We're on the final lap of this qualifying Group 9 race. And the checkered flag is waved then for the number 50 as Corvette take victory. In fact, it looks like a 1 and 2 for them. And Dick, thank you for coming in. Thank you for talking about the foundation. Feel free to come in and tell us more tomorrow, because there'll be a different audience, I'm sure, and I think it's always interesting to learn what's going on with Laguna. We can't come into your house and not learn how you're setting the table for the future. So thank you for spending some time with us, and feel free to come back and join us.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, Jonathan.
Anytime. So we get ready for some more action to come up. The sun is finally out here at Laguna. I'm delighted to say my thanks to Dick coming up here from the foundation here at Laguna Seca, and they are raising money for what is going to be a very special event next year as they get ready to repave the famous Laguna Circuit. So, packed car parks, packed grandstands, and a packed paddock. It's been a great day.